The world watched in disbelief as Russia launched a full-scale invasion of Ukraine in February 2022. The images of tanks rolling in and explosions lighting up the skies were broadcast globally, leaving millions in shock. This war, raging on European soil, quickly morphed from a regional conflict into a global crisis. Protests erupted in cities across Europe, and leaders scrambled to respond to the escalating situation. The ramifications of this war, from economic shocks to geopolitical instability, are being felt far beyond the battlefields of Ukraine. Stock markets around the world plummeted, and news anchors discussed the potential long-term impacts on global politics. Millions have been displaced, seeking refuge in neighboring countries. Families, often with just a suitcase in hand, crossed borders into Poland and other nations, hoping for safety. The world is grappling with a humanitarian crisis of immense proportions. Aid workers and international organizations have mobilized to provide essential supplies and support to the displaced. The economic consequences of this conflict are profound and far-reaching. Factories have shut down, supermarket shelves are empty, and financial analysts are warning of a prolonged economic downturn. The war has disrupted global trade, fueled an energy crisis, and exacerbated existing inflationary pressures. Cargo ships are stuck in ports, and oil prices have surged, leading to higher costs at gas stations worldwide. This conflict has exposed the interconnectedness of the global economy, highlighting vulnerabilities in energy markets and supply chains. The ripple effects are being felt in shipping lanes and crowded ports, where delays are now commonplace. As the war continues, its ripple effect is being felt across continents, impacting businesses, governments and individuals alike. Empty offices and shuttered small businesses are a testament to the widespread disruption, while government officials hold emergency meetings to address the ongoing crisis. Russia is a major player in the global energy market, particularly for oil and natural gas. Its vast reserves and strategic location make it a key supplier to many countries. The war in Ukraine sent shockwaves through these markets, causing unprecedented volatility and uncertainty. Sanctions imposed on Russia by Western nations disrupted energy exports, creating a ripple effect across the globe. This led to a sharp rise in oil and gas prices, affecting both consumers and industries alike. The impact of these price hikes has been significant, straining household budgets and increasing the cost of living. Consumers felt the pinch at the pump with soaring gasoline prices, making everyday commutes more expensive. Businesses faced higher energy costs, impacting production and profitability, and forcing some to rethink their strategies. The energy crisis has also raised concerns about energy security, particularly in Europe, which heavily relies on Russian gas for heating and electricity. Countries are now scrambling to find alternative energy sources and reduce their dependence on Russian energy, investing in renewables and other technologies. The war in Ukraine has severely disrupted global supply chains, already strained by the COVID-19 pandemic, which had caused unprecedented challenges. Ukraine and Russia are major producers of essential commodities like wheat, corn and sunflower oil, which are staples in many countries. Disruptions to planting, harvesting and transportation have created shortages and driven up food prices worldwide, affecting millions. The impact is most severe in countries that rely heavily on food imports from the Black Sea region, leading to increased hunger and instability. This conflict has underscored the fragility of global food security, highlighting the need for more resilient systems. Beyond food, the war has also impacted the supply of metals like nickel and palladium, which are essential for modern technology. These metals are crucial components in various industries, from automotive to electronics, affecting production worldwide. These disruptions have led to production delays and increased costs for manufacturers globally, impacting consumers and economies alike. The combined effect of soaring energy prices, supply chain disruptions, and economic uncertainty has fueled inflation globally. Rising prices for food, fuel, and other essentials are eroding purchasing power. This puts a strain on household budgets, particularly for low-income families already struggling to make ends meet. Central banks around the world are responding by raising interest rates to combat inflation. However, this delicate balancing act aims to curb inflation without triggering a recession. The longer the war continues, the more challenging it becomes to manage these economic shocks. The risk of a global recession fueled by the conflict looms large. Section 5. Geopolitical earthquakes, shaking investments. The war in Ukraine has sent shockwaves through the geopolitical landscape, creating a climate of uncertainty and risk. Businesses are wary of investing in new projects. Investors are pulling back from emerging markets, seeking safe havens for their capital. This heightened risk aversion threatens to stifle global economic growth. The war has also led to a reassessment of geopolitical alliances and priorities. Countries are re-evaluating their defense spending and strategic partnerships. The global order established after the Cold War is facing its most significant challenge yet. Section 6. A humanitarian catastrophe, costs and consequences. The war in Ukraine has triggered a humanitarian crisis of immense proportions. Millions have been displaced from their homes, seeking refuge in neighboring countries, primarily Poland, Romania and Moldova. The influx of refugees is putting a strain on the resources and infrastructure of host countries. The humanitarian crisis extends beyond Ukraine's borders. The war has disrupted trade routes, impacting food security in vulnerable countries dependent on grain imports from the Black Sea region. The conflict has diverted aid and resources from other humanitarian crises worldwide. Section 7. Global response, a race against time. The international community has responded to the war in Ukraine with unprecedented unity. Governments worldwide have imposed sanctions on Russia, aiming to cripple its economy and pressure it to end the war. International organizations, including the United Nations and the European Union, are providing humanitarian aid to Ukraine and supporting neighboring countries. However, the effectiveness of these measures in ending the conflict remains uncertain. The economic consequences of the war, particularly rising energy and food prices, are being felt globally. This situation necessitates a coordinated international response to mitigate the economic and humanitarian fallout from the war. Section 8. An uncertain future towards recovery and resolution. The war in Ukraine has cast a long shadow on the global economy. The conflict has exposed vulnerabilities in energy markets, supply chains, and the global financial system. The path to economic recovery remains uncertain, contingent upon the duration of the war and the effectiveness of global responses. Despite the challenges, the global community must strive for a peaceful resolution to the conflict. This requires diplomacy, dialogue, and a commitment to international cooperation. The human cost of this war is immeasurable, and the economic consequences are far-reaching. The world cannot afford to let this conflict escalate further.